Good evening. Today I will be sharing with you my data project for the 24-25 school year going into the 25-26 school year. So here we have step one where we're establishing a plan. So the plan in action is enhancing student outcomes through strategic use of behavior data, a targeted approach to behavior, academics, and attendance. This action is to leverage the importance of the data and how to improve certain areas as it relates to the data. The data team members include principal, assistant principal, academic coach, school counselor, school social worker, school registrar, PBIS coach, grade level team leads. These team members work interactively with different committees in our school. So, for example, you may find the principal, assistant principal, grade level team leads on a leadership team meeting. Or you may find the assistant principal, PBIS coach, school social worker, school counselor on an attendance team. Either way, teams, team members are working interactively to make sure that the work is being done as it relates to collecting data and moving forward with a plan. Step two and three, we are understanding data collection methods and data collection. So, where does the data come from? With this data, as stated before, we're looking at behavior, attendance, and academics. The data for attendance comes from our attendance data records, and this is being given to us by guidance counselor and the school registrar. Our behavior data is coming from Infinite Campus or Spotlight. Well, Spotlight, which is an embedded program inside of Infinite Campus. And then iReady data, which is our school wide diagnostic that we use to determine different levels of students. Seeing here, we are using three different types of data. It is important to use multiple sources of data, especially when you're trying to come up with an action plan for your school. As stated in FIS text, triangulation data has historically been used to assist in data analysis, specifically in school data analyzing. Step four is where we display the relevant data. So, in the next few slides, I will be showing data as it relates to academics, attendance, and behavior data. So, first we have our academic data. Here we can see third grade data from our already. Here on the left, we have here on the left we have our math data for already. As we can see here, students right here we have about 4% who are mid or below grade level, above grade level. We have 55% who are one grade level below. Three or more grade level below are here in the red. So that's about 14%. Over here, we have our reading data. We have about 7% of students who are above grade level in reading. We have about 26% who are one grade level below, and 23% two grade levels below, 13% three grade levels below, and so on. As you can see, our domains in iReady, as it relates to math, number operation, algebraic thinking, measurement and data, geometry, and for our reading, phonological awareness, as you can see, as when we get to third grade, most of those students have already mastered those skills, so most of them have tested out, so they wouldn't be assessed on that particular domain, but they are assessed on phonics, high frequency words, vocab, comprehension, literature, and informational text. Next, we have our fourth grade. Similar to our third grade, we have the math on this side, reading on this side. And as you can see, the domains are similar. As it relates to the reading, you see that the phonological awareness has been grayed out because most students, of course, by fourth grade have mastered those skills, hopefully. So as you can see here, we have about 8% of students who are mid or above grade level, 47 who are on grade level for math, 22% two grade levels below, three or more. Um, there are two or three more grade levels below. As you can see here, for our fourth versus our third grade levels, you see that that gap is looking very similar here. And the same as it relates to math. Have about 4% who are above, 43% who are mid, and 28% three or more grade levels below. And for fifth, we can see that this gap is getting larger here as we're looking at two or three more grade levels below from math, and it is definitely a big difference as it relates to reading. The gaps are definitely getting larger as it relates to reading here versus fourth and third grade. So next we're going to look at some attendance data. So here we have our third grade attendance data. Um, Of course, students' names have been blurred out. These students chosen here are students who have been chronically absent for more than 5 days. So these students who are considered chronically absent, they have above 5 absences. These students are on our radar as it relates to attendance and getting in contact with those parents to ensure that we can get them to school and just finding out what is it that is keeping them away from school. So as you can see, we have students here who have 31 days of absences and all 31 days being unexcused. We have sent attendance packets out as an attendance team. Some of them have returned the packets and had meetings with our counselors. Some of them have not. For our fourth grade, we see the numbers. Some of them are the same, where we have this number of absences, the number of unexcused absences. So as you can see, um, a lot of our students, a good percentage of them are chronically absent, and this is here you can see why we are having some gaps in our academia. And for fifth grade, the numbers are a little lower. We're looking at about 14 days max for our chronically absent students. Attendance packets have been sent out to notify the parents, and so forth and so on. And next, we're looking at the behavior data. So here we have just some demographic data as it relates to our school versus our actual district. So um, at Sioux Reynolds, we have about 78% male, 21% female. Um, Compared to our school system, 62% male, 37% female. Here are our race and ethnicity demographics. We have zero Native American Islander, well, Pacific Islander, 86% Black, not Hispanic, 5% Hispanic, multiracial, 1.75%, and white, 6.14%, compared to our Richmond County school system, about 88% Black, 3.6% Hispanic, 3% multiracial, and 4.62% white, not Hispanic. So here we're looking at the behavior as it relates to events that happen by the hour, day, and month. So you see here most of the events that are happening as it relates to high behavioral things going on throughout the school. It is happening at the end of the week. So it's happening starting on a Wednesday and going between Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Um, sorry, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Thursday being the highest. November seems to be our month that we get a lot of discipline data, with April being the smallest, and this is probably due to spring break. Here we see the peak hours for discipline is around 2 o'clock p.m. This speaks volumes, especially for our upper elementary grades, which this data is focused on. Our third, fourth, and fifth, specifically fourth and fifth. This is around transition time when they're transitioning from um, specials back to class. So that, and then around 3 o'clock where things are happening during dismissal. Okay. And just focusing in on third, fourth, and fifth. This is data that is looked at between the two different school years. As far as the 2005, 2004 to 2005 parts of the whole school year. So as you can see, discipline has kind of went down significantly, especially for fifth grade. And then some of the events that go on, we have a lot of dress code violation. These are mainly the teacher pretty much takes care of this as far as putting the event in spotlight and notifying the parent. Then you have some disorderly conduct, some fighting, and some of it that is not identified yet. It is just under student discipline referral. And then these are the resolution types as it relates to the behavior data. So out of school suspension, timeout, parent call, parent notified, so forth and so on. So next we will be looking at analyzing and identifying trends in our data. This is very important because when looking at the data in this presentation, although working at an elementary level, we are looking at specifically third, fourth, and fifth because these are our tested grades, and we need to see what is going on that we could change um, while kids are in lower elementary, so those K through two foundational grades. So behavior trends. There's an increase in moderate behavioral issues like defiance, off task, and minor aggression. This is happening a lot with fourth and fifth grade. This may be, but not, of course, for all. Developmentally, they're just not emotionally mature, for lack of better words. We're still in the post pandemic era. And then some of them may be just frustrated because they are below grade level. Academic trends. Just reiterating, a lot of our students at our school in third through fifth grades are below grade level as it relates to reading and math. This is not just for our district or school, it's been seen in 40 to 60% of different districts. Um, and some of those factors may be just missing the instructional time due to being absent. And you have seen that slides before in our attendance data, where we do have a lot of students who are missing days of school. Some of the attendance trends, chronic absenteeism, missing about 10% or more of school. That's why, as an attendance team, we jump right on it. As soon as we see those students who are deemed absent or chronically absent, after 5 absences, an attendance packet must be sent home. But before that, Teachers in the classroom must reach out to those parents when they notice that a student is not in there between 2 to 3 days. It is important that they are reaching out to those kids. Some of those causes of attendance trends are students being absent, limited, or could be because of health concerns, transportation issues, just not being engaged with school. And the impact that this may have on it is just them being missing more days in the future. Then they become disengaged socially, um, and they're missing different things as it relates to their academics. So, reasons for these trends. So, slides before we figured out what were the trends. Now, here are some reasons. So, collective reasoning for these trends. Students are missing a lot of academia in the classrooms due to behavior issues, due to attendance issues. Behavior, academics, and attendance works interchangeably. A student must come to school in order to get what they need to be on grade level. And while in school, they must behave the way that they should to ensure that they are getting all that they need. So here it's sort of like a diagram that shows this. So chronic absenteeism leads to misinstruction. Academic instruction leads to lack of confidence or engagement. Behavioral issues can lead to more things happening, so more misinstruction. And then it's like a repeated cycle. This is why many districts are looking at the whole child. So this is under that Georgia MTSS umbrella that includes social emotional, PBIS, and so forth. So options for this data informed change. Step 7. So for attendance, it is important to identify the patterns, see why students are not showing up, being in contact with those parents to see how can we delve down on what is really going on and how can we support. And that may be to include the social worker, including the guidance counselor, and so forth. Some of the academic options is making sure that teachers are teaching tier 1 instruction. You must start from the basics. We can't go any further until tier 1 instruction is utilized in the classroom. And then from tier 1, then you identify those kids and move them into small groups and so forth and so on. And then behavior, ensuring that students are on the RTI process. So that's your tier intervention system, such as MTSS, getting those interventions in place and possibly putting in check in and check out services, progress monitoring. So the action plan, so there have been goals centered around the action plan. So this action plan focuses on using behavior data to enhance student outcomes by addressing, again, behavior, academic, and performance. And the 3 goals here were put in the action plan before this data project was put into place. So goal 1 centered around behavior, tracking those behavioral patterns. Goal 2, seeing the connection between behavior and academic. Goal 3 is identifying attendance concerns or patterns. And 9 and 10, making the change. So what's to come? So already my principal has already sent out a strategic planning calendar for the summer. So we are jumping on it, of course, after some of the work has already been done this year. So what else can we do to make the change as far as behavior moving forward, ensuring that staff is trained on the strategic flow charts. Make sure that PBIS is a thing in the school and is not just something that's being said, it's being implemented. Getting those people from the outside, as far as district level workers, to come into the schools and working with people on how to properly utilize PBIS in the schools. Establishing tier intervention and collaborating with families. Family engagement is so important. How can we make the change academically? Um, Getting with the students, making sure that tier one instruction is being done in the classes. From there, making sure that differentiation is being done in the classrooms. If students do have individualized plans, making sure that they are being utilized so that students are being met where they are. And then intervention, and then again communicating with families, and then attendance, collaborating with different stakeholders such as social workers, such as guidance counselors, collaborating with not only them but making sure that everyone who is a part of leadership teams or teachers are involved, to make sure that the students or help the students, or to help promote just positive interactions as it relates to coming to school, doing things in the school that would make kids want to be there. And then here are references that were used during this presentation. Of course, along with my presentation, I have data that is in my data folder that will be attached to the file submitted into Folio.